Hey folks, Ripley with me. I have a really cool Necromancer build that I really want to show off. So I know a real popular one right now is the Infinimist, where you're using pure shadow damage. You're zipping around. You're using Bone Storm with the affix that turns Bone Storm into a darkness/shadow skill. So I did something similar. However, I've always been a Bone Necromancer fan as well, just by using Bone Spear and everything. So I kind of want to just jump in here and show it off a little bit and just kind of show you just how interesting this version can be. So that way, you're not always just going off max roll and just putting in, whatever inputs they tell you to. I think part of the fun of playing games like Diablo is to just do what you think sounds cool. What's going to make it fun for you? Not necessarily what's the most optimized way of playing. I kind of roll my eyes sometimes when I'm playing and I see like everybody running around with ball lightning on their sorcerer. Every single person's doing it because max roll told them to. So I like to see little variations of things. So yeah, this build originally started as just a Bone Spear Necromancer build, but I wanted to go with some kind of shadow, and then I got interested in using Blood Orbs, which then turned into doing Blood Mist. And so then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm going into a Blood Mist type build here, but I think actually the build that I have here is extremely effective. On a side note, I know I've said in my previous videos that all I do is make Necromancers. Right here, I made a level 88 Druid, Drubromancer, and I hate it. I mean, it's fun. I made him a poison build, so he's just using rabies and spreading it all around. It's kind of like Locust Swarm from Diablo 3 on the Witch Doctor. I had a lot of fun with them, but it just wasn't... I think I'll try Druid again at some other point, but right now I'm still having fun with being a Necromancer. So I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to show off a little bit of the build, and, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty happy. And also, this might be my first level 100 finally, too, so let's dive in. Okay, so first let's look under the hood and see what we have going on here. So as you can see for my skill, first I'm going to go into the abilities, and I'm going to kind of show off all the little stuff that I have here. So I don't even use a basic skill at all. I just put 2 points into something random. Bone Spear, and I do not use vulnerability at all. So I don't cause any vulnerability damage. If it happens by just happenstance, but I'm not actively using a vulnerability build, even though this is a very strong Bone Spear build. So, because the main reason I didn't want to do vulnerability is because I wanted to use the stats that I can roll on my gear through enchanting for something else. I'll get into that later, but so right now I'm using obviously the Bone Spear, and then I have here for the +5 critical strike chance. It fires 2 additional bone shards upon being destroyed. This works out really well. It's great for some AoE damage, but the main thing is getting that direct damage for boss fights. So obviously Hue Flesh, you need corpses a lot in this build. So over here I have Blood Mist, and I just put 1 point into it, let my abilities and everything. And also, I'm not big into overpower either. So this build, or this ability right here doesn't really serve much purpose for me, but I can lower the cooldown by other means. And also when it randomly does overpowering, it helps. But then the Blood Mist leaves behind one corpse, or leaves behind a corpse every 1 second. So this also helps a ton. Especially with my essence regeneration, because I use Grim Harvest, which generates 6 essence every time it blows up a corpse, or every time a corpse is consumed. So then down here I have Fueled by Flesh, or Fueled by Death, and yeah, I put full points into that. Then I have items that add to it as well, and this helps with dramatic damage increase. Then of course Corpse Explosion, got full points into that, and I'm using Bladed Corpse Explosion to release that miasma, that just shadow damage over time. Again, I'm not using a vulnerability build, so I'm not going to use the Plagued one, but the Bladed one is definitely the go-to for me. Over here, I'm using Death's Embrace, where I deal extra damage to enemies that are close to me, and also that I take less damage from them. And this is a very tanky build, I have to admit. It's like, I wish it could be a little tankier. I'm sure that if I went with like a traditional bone mist or a blood mist build, it probably would be, but it's alright. Amplified curse, or amplified damage for, I wanted to put full points into this, and maybe I might switch it around later on. But, yeah, I think that this is pretty good at 8%. I mean, another 4% is really not that big of a deal to me. So then Decrepify, obviously, just for the cooldown reduction. Over here I have Corpse Tendrils, and I only have 1 point in Corpse Tendrils, but I have 12 points added to it from abilities, or from armor. So over here, of course, I'm using the Blood Orb. Now this is important. Blood Orb is the biggest part about my build here. So Blood Orb drops extra Blood Orbs when you hit things with it. So over here I have Reaper's Pursuit, just a filler to get to Gloom. And I only went, just 3 points into Gloom, didn't go any further into this. The next thing is Serration. I wanted a little bit of Serration, but again, it's not... Like, Bone Spear is a very important part of my build, but it's not the most important part. It's really mainly there for me to just kind of pick off some groups of enemies or get corpses on the ground. But its primary purpose for Bone Spear is to be able to fight bosses really efficiently, or more efficiently than you would with just using pure AoE damage. So over here I have Rapid Ossification, and that is the biggest one for me because I want to reduce that cooldown of Bone Storm, which I have right down here, as much as possible. I want to try to keep Bone Storm active as much as possible, which is what the Blood Mist build is pretty much revolved around. But there's a little difference from what I've seen. I'm sure there's probably people that have done videos or whatever, or websites that have put up articles about something similar to what I'm doing here. But the Blood Orbs are the most important part of this build by far. So over here I got my Bone Storm, of course, and then I'm not using any pets, which honestly I'd rather be using pets. I would love to use them, but for this build you really got to sacrifice them and get that damage reduction and bonus increases to critical strike and everything from the Book of the Dead. And then, of course, I use Shadow Blight as my primary. That damage it creates is just too perfect to ignore. It really is just a really strong passive. Going with Ossified Essence would be okay. I don't like it. It's boring to me. I like the Shadow Blight. So, over in Paragon. Now, I'm not going to go through every little piece of Paragon here, but I'm just going to show the glyphs and board that I'm using, or boards that I'm using. So, starting with the glyphs, I'm not quite done yet. I'm only level 96 right now, so I'm going to have a 5th glyph here by the end, which would be up there. So, anywho, starting with this one, so the glyphs that I'm using and the one I'm planning to use, Scourge. Of course, this is a shadow build for the most part. So yeah, I want to do the additional damage and deal additional damage to anything that's around me that's affected by shadow damage. I think that's pretty much a straightforward one to pick. Blood Drinker. Blood Orbs fortify you for 7% of your maximum life. Very important for this build. You want to stay alive as much as possible. That's what I'm doing here with the Blood Orbs. Over here I have Exhumation. Again, increased corpse damage, which is fantastic, but also fortifies me every time I blow up a corpse. Sacrificial. I'm using Sacrifice. Makes sense to boost that up. The next thing is Undaunted, which I'm going to be adding once I get to that 5th glyph option. And this is really just because I'm constantly fortified, so there's no reason why not to take this this perk, or this glyph, to finally close things out. So the tables I've used, or the boards, let's see, where's the... Oh yeah. So Blood Begets Blood. Again, Blood Orbs. Not much more to explain there, just keep on boosting up your damage every time you pick up a Blood Orb. Over here I have... this is going to be Wither. Shadow over time, damage over time is just crazy not to with this build. And then over here I have Bone Graft to help with, because it also, all of this affects the Bone Storm as well, because Bone Storm still is considered a bone ability, even though it turns into Shadow and Darkness. So additional damage through the Bone Graft and all the little passives that are in here are just, of course. Then up here, I have finally, this is the corpse one, a Flesh Eater. So consuming 5 corpses grants 40% increased damage. So this goes kind of in unison with the passive over here, Fueled by Death. So blow up a bunch of corpses, you're going to get, 64% additional damage when you blow up a bunch of corpses. So, again, very, I think all of this kind of has nice synergy with each other. Is it the best build in the world? Probably not. But I'm really having a good time with it. Over here, for my Book of the Dead, I sacrifice the Reapers for the additional shadow damage. Then over here, I have the Skeletal Mages. I just want to have additional essence. Over here, I don't use vulnerability. Down here, I don't use overpower. So obviously, the additional essence is better, and it works with the Bone Graft passive. Just getting a little extra. So on my character now, the items I'm using. So I'll just go over the aspects and some of the stats. So most of my armor will have a blood orb perk to it of some sort, and of course I have corpses form blood orbs. Down here I have Bone Storm. You want to increase you want to get barrier for that, because while you're under Bone Storm, it makes you really difficult to kill just with that extra barrier. Bone Storm increasing its duration. I got a pretty decent roll on this one. So yeah, you can have it running, and if you're lucky, you can get your cooldown for Bone Storm to complete while your Bone Storm's still running. So that means you can constantly just keep adding it the more mobs you fight. Temerity, a fan favorite, but again, add more to a barrier. Potion drop rate, all of this. I don't find myself using potions very much, just because of the amount of blood orbs I'm grabbing. Down here I have Blood Mist, triggers Corpse Explosion. So that adds... so basically, when you go into Blood Mist, you're regenerating your essence, you're regenerating your health, everything. It's just fantastic, and you're producing more blood orbs. Black River. This is essential. Unfortunately, the damage output it has, I keep on picking up items that have much higher damage output, but obviously it doesn't matter too much in this case, but consumes up to 4 additional corpses. So every time I blow up 1 corpse, it blows up 5 corpses, if available. So this is just fantastic. It feels like cheating using this. Next I have the Blade of Chain, which is Shadow Blade. Just increases your damage every time it strikes 10 times. And that damage really shines when it activates. Now this is the most important one. The Blood Orbs reduce your ultimate by 1.4 seconds every time you pick one up. So really, when I'm having an explosion of blood orbs everywhere, yeah, it's just going to drop that cooldown like crazy. So not only with the bone passive that I have that reduces cooldown, I have Decrepify reducing cooldown. Now I have picking up all these crazy ass blood orbs all the time. I could even probably drop Curse of or Decrepify if I wanted to and still not be affected that much, because I find myself oftentimes not even using it. So I could probably use those passives for something else. Okay, so next up I have this ring here. Well, there we go. So of course I got the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul of the Sacrilegious Soul. Sorry, it's a new one that just dropped with this latest update just a couple days ago. This was a huge boost to my abilities and everything that I do with this build. Of course, I got kind of a shitty roll on it. But man, this was insane for this to come out with this build. Because now I have my Corpse Tendrils is constantly just pulling everything in for me, or every 13 seconds pulling things in. But the cool thing is it doesn't use the same cooldown as when I do it manually. So I basically get 2. I can kind of rotate them as I please. And of course the Corpse Explosions automatically doing that. That's just, oh my god. This was a major game changer. what I originally had for my ring was the one that caused my blood orbs to give me more essence, which was basically, it was redundant because of all the corpse explosions I'm already doing before this ring even came out, just from jumping in the blood mist mode or using the having Black River blow up 5 corpses at once. I had so much essence anyways. So when this came out, this was huge. So yeah, I can't complain. The other thing I also switched out the blood orbs with was the blood mist desecration aspect. However, I found that, you know, it's nice and all, but it wasn't absolutely necessary for this build. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to go back and point at here too is that almost all of my skills have the extra blood orb damage added to it. At least a lot of them do. That one doesn't. But I tried to make sure I get that, and also for my lucky hit of adding primary resource. Now that I have so much essence coming in, though, I may not need that in the future. If I get some better items, I can switch it with something else. But my gloves have it too, and you know, this chest piece was just crazy. I mean, every little thing that I focus on with this build was on it. It's for something else. And then, of course, the turning Bone Storm into a Darkness skill and dealing shadow damage. So that's the whole setup. I don't think I forgot anything. And yeah, oh yeah, with my gems, I put everything for my armor to be fortified damage reduction, because I'm constantly fortified. And then over here, I change out my gems for my jewelry now that resistances work, so kind of just based on what I'm doing, I might change them out, but I just kind of randomly threw some shit in there. So, let's see it in action, huh? Alright, so I'm going to go with, let's do a tier 50 Buried Hulls. Let's do it. I don't even care what the affixes are. Alright, so we're going to go in. I have an elixir on. It's just plus 20% health. Figure why not. And we'll get loaded in here. Rick, were you excited or what? Yeah, I thought so. Jump into mist form. Drop on the bone storm. I'm not doing everything exactly right because I'm under pressure now. I'm being recorded, so I always mess things up a little bit. But yeah, just cleared out. I'm dealing with 104 level mobs here, and I'm only level 96. So let's get ourselves a nice big group. I hope the Butcher shows up too. I want to show off that. He'll probably kill me, but okay, here we go. Drop Decrepify. Start firing the Bone Spears into him. You see the Bone Spear's doing a decent amount of damage here. And yeah, there we go. Start picking up all these blood orbs, and just look how quickly the Bone Storm cooldown is going. So I'm gonna keep on going here. Boom, boom, boom. I know I'm supposed to free prisoners and shit. So, oh, okay, cool. We have a cursed shrine. This should be a good example here. So we'll throw up a Bone Spear or a Bone Storm. Start blowing some shit up. And you know, sometimes I kill stuff so fast that it will bug out the waves, which is kind of fun. It makes you feel good about yourself. So here we go. I'm gonna start just blowing up corpses all over the place right now, and then I'm gonna keep on picking. Look at all these blood orbs everywhere. So yeah, my Bone Storm's already back, and going for it, I've dropped Decrepify. Then once my Blood Mist is available again, I just Blood Mist again, start blowing more shit up. I mean, it almost feels like I'm cheating, really. I mean, this is like, you know, I die every once in a great while here. But of course, unfortunately, this build, it really is super gear dependent. You really need to have just the right stats, the right gear, rolling on everything to try to get those Blood Orb bonuses, because the Blood Orb bonuses are just sick. It is so much damage. So, yeah, I guess I can take the Shrine. Now that's even more OP. But, you know, one thing I'm curious about, though, is to see how effective this build will be once I don't have my vampiric powers, which I probably should go over those a little bit, but Honestly, I don't really give a shit about him. The one vampiric power I love as a Necromancer, though, is this teleport. That's really the main thing I use, is just the teleport. Pick up blood orbs again. The other thing, too, that kind of sucks, I wish they would add this to the game like they did in Diablo 3, where you had the pickup radius stats. You know, maybe not make it like a primary stat, but just one of those ones that kind of appear at the top of the gear or whatever, like you would find resistances. Yeah, I'm supposed to free prisoners. Here we go. Oh god, these guys are... I hate the red ghosts. They're the ones that can one-shot you. Well, they can one-shot mortal men, not a necromancer like me. I'm the shit. Look how fast I am. But yeah, necromancers, I really feel like they need to have some kind of teleport or some kind of, like a faster evade option, just as like a baseline class skill, because our mobility is so dog shit without this vampiric glyph. Alright, one thing I like to do too with this build is, since I'm so tanky, now having said that, I'm probably going to get one shot by these ghosts, but since I'm so tanky, I like to kind of run around and gather them, but this is often what gets me killed too. I try to be greedy. But we'll throw up the Bone Storm, Blood Mist, just look at them melt away. Just so good. You know, and look at that, my Bone Storm's still going and my cooldown's already up. So I could just pop a new one whenever. Oh, there we go. Let's do it. And Blood Mist again. So yeah, we got boss. Now we'll just see how this goes. So I'm going to drop a Decrepify on him. Pull out Bone Storm. Now you notice I'm not doing a whole lot of damage yet, but now I'm going to start throwing the Bone Spear. That's what I got it for. Then drop the Blood Mist. And hit another Decrepify, and then all of a sudden, boom. Look at that. Because I'm picking up Blood Orbs like crazy, my damage is just wrecking him. Boom. Easy peasy. So yeah, it starts out slow when you're fighting the boss. However, once you start getting those blood orbs going and you're blowing up corpses, those damage modifiers start stacking up like crazy. And yeah, so it works pretty well, I think. It's a nice little variation of what the Blood Mist or Infinimist build is calling for. But you know, I noticed a lot of people tend to bottleneck themselves into one damage type. So if you're going to be doing shadow damage, you kind of want to just stack everything towards shadow damage. You know, it makes sense. But there are so many different synergies that maybe a lot of people don't think about between different damage types. It was just kind of like a personal choice, and also since I have the additional cooldown reduction with blood orbs, it just seemed like it was a perfect fit, considering that the whole thing you want to do is have your Bone Storm going as much as possible. And Blood Mist, it has, you know, it's like a 15-second cooldown. Generally, if you can keep yourself alive long enough for it to come off cooldown, you're in pretty good shape. That's where Decrepify comes in. And also, it reduces its own cooldown when it blows up corpses, too. So it's really a great... Everything, it just synergizes so well with one another. I think I'm going to end the video here. I know this is probably a really rough one, just like all my other videos have been, but... yeah, I think this is pretty fun, though. I really wanted to show off this build, and maybe a little bit later I'll talk a little bit more about the things coming to Diablo. So, until then, I will see you all in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Say bye, Ripley. She says bye.